Thus Satyavan spoke first to Savitri. How art thou named among the sons of men? I have heard strange voices cross the ether's waves. The centaur's wizard song has thrilled my ear. I glimpsed the apsaras bathing in the pool and saw the wood nymphs peering through the leaves. The winds have shown to me their trampling lord. I have beheld the princes of the sun burning in thousand-pillared houses of light. So now my mind could dream and my heart fear. Thou drovest thy horses from the thunderous world.
Good morning. So we're reading in Book 5, Canto 3, Satyavan and Savitri. So in this canto, Satyavan and Savitri meet, introduce each other, and explain their reaction, their feelings, their experience of meeting the other. So we were reading last time on page 401, and we had some discussion, some question about the centaur that's mentioned there. I think I would like to just backtrack a little bit and let's reread that section. And then I brought some materials, some explanations from Satyavan and from Sri Aurobindo about some of the symbolism here. So why don't we start the sixth line from the top on page 401. I witnessed. And perhaps, Tinika, you could begin.
I witnessed the virgin bridals of the dawn behind the glowing curtains of the sky, or vying in joy with the bright morning steps, I paced along the slumberous coast of noon, or the gold desert of the sunlight crossed traversing great wastes of splendor and of fire, or met the moon gliding amazed through heaven in the uncertain whiteness of the night, or the stars marched on their long sentinel routes, pointing their spears through the infinitudes. The day and dusk revealed to me hidden shapes. Figures have come to me from secret shores, and happy faces looked from ray and flame. I have heard strange voices cross the ether's waves. The centaur's wizard song has thrilled my ear. I have glimpsed the apsaras bathing in the pools. I have seen the wood nymphs peering through the leaves. The winds have shown to me their trampling lords. I have beheld the princes of the sun burning in 1,000-pillar homes of light.
Thank you. Let's pause there. So here I'll read a little bit from Satyavan's explanation of this passage. She says the first thing he mentions is the dawn, the virgin bridals of the dawn. There is something so pure about the dawn, and yet at the same time it is a festival, a celebration. This is a marriage ceremony, perhaps the marriage of the night with the day. But it is hidden behind the glowing curtains of sky. We see all beautiful colors at the dawn. Satyavan says he has seen something, some union happening there. He says that he walked along the slumberous coasts of noon. Noon is the middle of the day, the brightest time of the day. It is as if that is a kind of borderline, a coastline. A coast is where the sea meets the land. Here it is the meeting of different times, the morning and the noon. It is as if the bright morning is walking along the slumberous, sleepy coasts of noon, the very hottest and brightest time of the day. The sun's heat brings a kind of sleepiness and lethargy to everything. Satyavan is walking along with it, vying in joy. To vie with somebody means to compete. He is feeling as bright, as joyful as, maybe even more joyful than the morning itself. Then he says that the very hottest part of the day is like a desert, a gold desert of the sunlight. Sometimes here in India, in the middle of the day, the sun can be so intense, and if you happen to be outdoors, it is something like you are crossing a desert. Satyavan says he would feel like that, crossing great wastes of splendor and of fire, the intensity of the sun. And then he would meet the moon, gliding amazed through heaven, as if it is the moon that is amazed, or he is amazed to see the moon as it glides and is moving. And he says the stars, as if they are warriors. This is a very common image for the stars, marching in the sky, as if they are an army on their long sentinel routes. A sentinel is a watchman, a guard. The stars have to follow that route of their watch. And they are armed. They have their spears. The light that comes from the stars are their warrior spears. They are guarding the earth, the universe. To Satyavan, all these different times of the day, all these different moods express presences, symbolic presences behind them. And then I'll skip ahead a little bit. He said, or Sri Aurobindo says, I have heard strange voices cross the ether's waves. The centaur's wizard song has thrilled my ear. These are things that he has heard with a subtle hearing. Strange voices cross the ether's waves. In the early days of radio, we used to think that words, voices are coming across the ether. Ether is the subtlest kind of atmosphere. One of these strange voices he has heard is the voice of a centaur. A centaur is a being in Greek mythology. It has the body of a horse below the waist and the body of a man above the waist. And this symbolically seems to combine the vital forces and the mental forces. In Greek mythology, they are sometimes beneficent beings and sometimes not so beneficent. But there is one famous centaur, Cryon, Chiron, who was the teacher, the guru of the Greek princes. In ancient Indian tradition, gurus, mostly living in the forest, used to gather their disciples around them, and the kings would send their sons to study in the forests. In the same way, the young princes of Greece were sent to study with this particular centaur, Chiron. He had a lyre, one of the special Greek musical instruments. He would play that while chanting or singing hymns. Probably that particular centaur is referred to here, a symbolic being from the subtle planes. That wonderful magical song, enchanting song, has thrilled my ear. Then he says he has glimpsed the Apsaras. These are beings from the Indian mythology, the beautiful goddesses who serve Indra, the king of the gods. In his palace, they dance and entertain his guests, sing beautiful songs. Satyavan says, I have seen those beautiful goddesses bathing in the pools here in our forest. And I have seen the wood nymphs, the nymphs of the trees peering through the leaves. It is as if they are hidden behind the leaves, but they open them and look out. And the winds have shown to me their trampling lords. The rulers of the winds in the ancient Indian mythology are the Maruts. They are twin brothers and they ride horses. They are masters of horses. The winds are their horses. Trampling is what horses do with their hooves. Tread fast, crushing whatever is on their way. Then he says, the princes of the sun. There are many princes, noble beings who are in the sun, and he has seen them burning in 1,000-pillared homes of light. In many South Indian temples, there are 1,000-pillared halls, vast halls with many, many pillars. Perhaps here he is thinking about the rays of the sun, which are like pillars. They are the princes of the sun, the emanations of the sun. He has had a vision of those beings. So here, Satyavan also refers to Indra, and Indra also comes up in the next part of the passage that we will read, or perhaps it's Indra. Satyavan seems to think so. The thunder's hooves will come up in the next. So I'll just read about Indra as well. Indra, the puissant, who is the power of pure existence, self-manifested as the divine mind. As Agni is one pole of force, instinct with knowledge, that sends its current upward from earth to heaven, so Indra is the other pole of light, instinct with force, which descends from heaven to earth. He comes down into our world as the hero with the shining horses and slays darkness and division with his lightnings, pours down the life-giving heavenly waters, finds in the trace of the hound intuition, the lost or hidden illuminations, makes the Sun of Truth mount high in the heaven of our mortality. And then A little bit further on, Sri Aurobindo explains, Indra, the divine mind, as the shaper of mental forms, has for his assistants, his artisans, the ribhus, human powers who by the work of sacrifice and their brilliant ascension to the high dwelling place of the sun have attained to immortality and help mankind to repeat their achievement. They shape by the mind Indra's horses, the chariot of the Ashwins, the weapons of the gods, all the means of the journey and the battle. But as the giver of the light of truth and as Vitra slayer, the demon slayer, Indra is aided by the Maruts, who are powers of will and nervous or vital force that have attained to the light of thought and the voice of self-expression. They are behind all thought and speech as its impellers, and they battle towards the light, truth, and bliss of the Supreme Consciousness. So in this passage and the next, Sri Aurobindo alludes to some of these Vedic deities along with their psychological significances that he's described here. So now let's continue with that next part of the passage. So now my mind.
So now my mind could dream and my heart fear that from some wonder couch beyond our air, risen in a wide morning of the gods, thou drovest thy horses from the thunderer's worlds. Although to heaven thy beauty seems allied, much rather would my thoughts rejoice to know that mortal sweetness smiles between thy lids, and thy heart can beat beneath a human gaze, and thy aureate bosom quiver with a look, and its tumult answer to an earth-born voice. If our time-vexed affections thou canst feel, earth's ease of simple things can satisfy, if thy glance can dwell content on earthly soil, and this celestial summary of delight, thy golden body dally with fatigue, oppressing with its grace our terrain, while thy frail sweet passing taste of earthly food delays thee, and the torrent sleeping wine descend. Let thy journey cease, come down to us.
Thank you. Let's pause. So Satyavan has just explained that he is open to these subtle worlds of experience and can see these apsaras and the wood nymphs and these beings from beyond in a higher plane of consciousness. He's alive, he's awake to all of these beings and images. So he's saying to Savitri that she seems aligned with those kinds of things, with those kinds of beings, but he would prefer that she is really an earthly being. He's not just having another vision of these higher beings, but she is standing before him physically. So he says, much rather would my thoughts rejoice to know that mortal sweetness smiles between thy lids, and thy heart can beat beneath a human gaze, and thy aureate bosom quiver with a look, and its tumult answer to an earthborn voice. He's saying, hoping that you're a physical human being and that you can respond to my love. And then he says, if he invites Savitri to stay, to come down from her chariot and to join him there in the forest hermitage where he lives. So he says, if our time-vexed affections thou canst feel, earth ease of simple things can satisfy. If thy glance can dwell content on earthly soil, and this celestial summary of delight, thy golden body, dally with fatigue, if you can feel tiredness, oppressing with its grace our terrain, while the frail, sweet passing taste of earthly food delays thee. If she could stop for a short time, taste the earthly food and the torrent's leaping wine, descend, let thy journey cease, come down to us. I've kind of repeated, I think, a number of times how Satyavan is representing the soul of humanity living here among the forest. And Savitri is representing the Divine Mother, a representation of the sun coming down from the sun onto earth. So he's also inviting this divine light, this divine being, to come and descend to the earth and live with us here. Let thy journey cease, come down to us. He's calling down the Divine Mother also, in some sense, to the earth. Okay, Helmut, would you continue?
Close is my father's creepered hermitage, screened by the tall ranks of these silent kings, sung to by voices of the hue-robed choirs, whose chants repeat transcribed in music's notes the passionate colored letterings of the boughs, and fill the hours with thy melodious cry, with their melodious cry. Amid the welcome hum of many bees, invite our honeyed kingdom of the woods. There let me lead thee into an opulent life, bare, Simple is the sylvan hermit life. Yet is it clad with the jewelry of earth. Wild winds run, visitors midst the swaying tops. Through the calm days, heaven's sentinels of peace, couched on a purple robe of sky above, look down on a rich secrecy and hush, and the chambered nuptial waters chant within. Enormous, whispering, many formed around high forest gods have taken in their arms the human hour, a guest of their centuried pomps. Apparelled are the moons in gold and green, sunlight and shadow tapestries the walls, and make a resting chamber fit for thee.
Thank you. Satyavan invites Savitri to come with him close by to her father's hermitage, creepered hermitage, kind of adorned with creepers or vines, flowered vines, screened by the tall ranks of these silent kings. She's referring to the tall trees standing over the hermitage, sung to by voices of the hue-robed choirs, the colorful birds perching in the trees above, singing, whose chants repeat transcribed in music's notes the passionate colored lettering of the boughs, and fill the hours with their melodious cry. And then amid the welcome hum of many bees, invade our honeyed kingdom of the woods. There, let me lead thee into an opulent life. So he's describing this very simple hermitage life in this kind of beautiful way, and just saying it's very simple but very elegant, very beautiful, colorful, musical. Bare, simple is the sylvan hermit life, yet is it clad with the jewelry of earth. And then he speaks of the winds, the wild winds run, visitors midst the swaying tops, through the calm days, the heaven's sentinels of peace. These again, I believe, are the trees, couched on a purple robe of sky above, look down on a rich secrecy and hush. and, and the chambered nuptial waters chant within. So there's also the musical chant of the flowing streams around in the forest. Enormous, whispering, many-formed around, high forest gods have taken in their arms the human hour, a guest of their centuried pomps. For Satyavan, it's not just a physical environment forest, but all of this is alive with the gods, with divine beings, with subtle, vital, and mental beings, hidden behind the physical surface nature. It's all alive with that, representing those forces. Apparelled are the morns in gold and green. Again, we get these two colors repeatedly throughout these passages of gold and green. Gold representing Savitri, green representing Satyavan and the earth. Sunlight and shadow tapestry the walls to make a resting chamber fit for thee. The earth also is a kind of a chamber, a resting place for the divine to live here, to come down into our earth. This is created, after all, as a dwelling place for the divine. So we can continue.
A while she paused, as if hearing still his voice, unwilling to break the charm, then slowly spoke. Musing, she answered, I am Savitri, princess of Madra. Who art thou? What name musical on earth expresses thee to men? What trunk of kings, watered by fortunate streams, has flowered at last upon one happy branch? Why is thy dwelling in the pathless wood, far from the deeds thy glorious youth demands? Haunt of the anchorites and earth's wilder broods, where only with thy witness self thou roams, in nature's green unhuman loneliness, surrounded by enormous silences and the blind murmur of primeval calms. And Satyavan replied to Savitri, in days when yet his sight looked clear on life, King Dyumatsena once, the Shalva, reigned. Through all the tract which from behind these tops, passing its days of emerald delight, in trusting converse with the traveller winds, turns, looking back towards the southern heavens, and leans its flank upon the musing hills. But equal fate removed her covering hand.
Thank you. Let's pause there. So Savitri very briefly introduces herself, just says, I am Savitri, Princess of Madra. And then again questions Satyavan, who art thou? What name, musical on earth, expresses thee to men? And she senses his nobility by the way he has spoken so poetically. What trunk of kings watered by fortunate streams has flowered at last upon one happy branch? So she's asking, what line of kings is he the last flowering branch? And why is thy dwelling in the pathless wood? Far from the deeds thy glorious youth demands. This haunt, this kind of place of the anchorites and the earth's wilder broods, of the ascetics who live there, and earth's wilder broods, the animals, where only with thy witness self thou roamest, in nature's green unhuman loneliness, surrounded by enormous silences and the blind murmur of primeval calms. She also brings back something of the atmosphere of that place. It's very kind of desolate, very silent and quiet, except for the passing breezes in the trees. And then Satyavan replies and explains about his father, King Dumatsena, that in past days, when his sight looked clear on life, when he still could see, he became blind. He reigned in the Shalwa, in that area, through all the tract which from behind these tops, passing its days of emerald delight, from this forest area, in trusting converse with the traveler winds, turns, looking back towards the southern heavens, and leans its flank upon the musing hills. So from this point in the forest all the way back towards the hills, he reigned in this area as king. But equal fate removed her covering hand. And then he will explain next what that means. So we can continue, Jean.
A living night enclosed the strong man's paths. Heaven's brilliant gods recalled their careless gifts, took their blank eyes, their glad and helping ray, and led the uncertain goddess from his side. Outcast from empire of the outer light, lost to the comradeship of seeing men, he sojourns in two solitudes, within and in the solemn rustle of the woods. Son of that king, I, Satyavan, have lived contented, for not yet of thee aware, in my high-peopled loneliness of spirit, and this huge vital murmur kin to me, nursed by the vastness, pupil of solitude. Great nature came to her recovered child. I reigned in a kingdom of a nobler kind. Then men can build upon dull matter's soil. I met the frankness of the primal earth. I enjoyed the intimacy of infant God. In the great tapestried chambers of her state, free in her boundless palace I have dwelt, indulged in the warm mother of us all, reared with my natural brothers in her house.
Thank you. So Satyavan is explaining that he is the son of this king Dyumatsena, who has lost his sight and his empire, his kingdom, and now has retired to this hermitage in the woods. But perhaps it's good just to remind ourselves of Sri Aurobindo's author's note at the beginning of his description of Dyumatsena, Lord of the shining hosts, Father of Satyavan, is the divine mind, here fallen blind, losing its celestial kingdom of vision, and through that loss, its kingdom of glory. So on a deeper level, he's also representing the divine mind, but fallen to a lower level in which it loses its divine sight, its omniscient vision of things, like our mind has fallen from that realm. So, and we have become blind like him. So Satyavan has grown up with his father here in the hermitage, in the wild woods, but very contented and viewing it as a kind of divine opportunity to commune with the nature spirits and with the divine behind things. He describes it, in my high-peopled loneliness of spirit, and this huge vital murmur kin to me, nursed by the vastness, pupil of solitude. Great nature came to her recovered child. I reigned in a kingdom of a nobler kind than men can build upon dull matter soil, suggesting that this kingdom is greater than that of the human-built kingdoms. I met the frankness of the primal earth. I enjoyed the intimacy of infant God. It's primal, I think. The primal divine, just in its first expression of nature. in the great tapestried chambers of her state, free in her boundless palace, I have dwelt. He views this as a palace, indulged by the warm mother of us all, reared with my natural brothers, the animals and birds in her house. So we continue, Padmini.
I lay in the wide bare embrace of heaven. The sunlight's radiant blessing clasped my brow. The moonbeam's silver ecstasy at night kissed my dim lids to sleep. Earth's morns were mine, lured by faint murmurings. With the green-robed hours, I wandered lost in woods, prone to the voice of winds and waters, partner of the sun's joy, a listener to the universal speech. My spirit, satisfied within me, knew, God like our birthright, luxuried our life, whose close belongings are the earth and the skies. Before fate led me into this emerald world, aroused by some foreshadowing touch within, an early prescience in my mind approached, the great dumb animal consciousness of earth, now grown so close to me who have left old poems, to live in this grandiose murmur, dim and vast. Already I met her in my spirit's dream, as if to a deeper country of the soul, transposing the vivid imagery of earth. Through an inner seeing and sense, awakening came.
Thank you. In Sri Aurobindo's interpretation of the Vedas, he speaks of that time, these thousands of years back, when the mind of humanity had not become so intellectualized as it is now, and that it was more intuitive, more simple, and more in tune with the nature around. So this is taking place in that kind of time, thousands of years ago in the Vedic times. And Satyavan is describing something of that experience, perhaps, that more of the people had, and especially the Vedic sages in their forest hermitage would experience this kind of close familiarity with nature and with the divine beings behind nature. He's describing this, how it is for him. I lay in the wide, bare embrace of heaven. The sunlight's radiant blessing clasped my brow. The moonbeam's silver ecstasy at night kissed my dim lids to sleep. Earth's morns were mine, lured by faint murmurings with the green-robed hours. I wandered, lost in woods, prone to the voice of winds and waters, partner of the sun's joy, a listener to the universal speech. We see how close he is to the nature. And feeling it as an expression of the divine within, that lives within it. And then he says that before fate led him into this world, into this forest, hermitage, he was aroused by some foreshadowing touch within. He was given some kind of intuition that this perhaps would happen. An early prescience in my mind approached the great dumb animal consciousness of earth, now grown so close to me, who have left old pomps. He has left the pomps of his princely life to live in this grandiose murmur, dim and vast. So he had some sense of the approach of this primeval consciousness of the earth. Already I met her in my spirit's dream, as if to a deeper country of the soul, transposing the vivid imagery of earth through an inner seeing and sense, awakening came. So perhaps he began to awaken to the deeper sense and gods and goddesses behind the natural forms, even before coming to the forest. So we continue next.
A vision spell pursued my boyhood's hours. All things the eye had caught in colored lines were seen anew through the interpreting mind, and in the shape it sought to seize the soul. An early child God took my hand that held, moved guided by the seeking of his touch. Bright forms and hues which fled across his sight. Limned upon page and stone, they spoke to men. High beauties visitants my intimates were, the gnawing pride of rapid life that roams. Wind-maned through our pastures on my seeing mood, cast shapes of swiftness, trooping spotted deer. Against the vesper sky became a song of evening to the silence of my soul. I caught for some eternal eye the sudden kingfisher flashing to a darkling pool, a slow swan silvering the azure lake. A shape of magic whiteness sailed through dream, leaves trembling with the passion of the wind. Pranked butterflies, the conscious flowers of air, and wandering wings in blue infinity, lived on the tablets of my inner sight. Mountains and trees stood there like thoughts from God.
Thank you. Let's pause. Basically, he seems to be describing that even from his boyhood, that he was sensing these the deeper divinity within nature, within these different forms of nature, as if an early child God took my hand. So as if he was being led into this deeper vision of things, moved, guided by the seeking of his touch. And then he's explaining how the different things became kind of alive to his vision. Bright forms and hues which fled across his sight, limned upon page and stone, they spoke to men. High beauty's visitants my intimates were. So all these different images and things of nature became kind of something being guided by the divine and a sense of divinity behind them. Even the mountains and trees stood there like thoughts from God. So let's continue.
The brilliant long bills in their vivid dress, the peacock scattering on the breeze his moans, painted by my memory like a frescoed wall. I carved my vision out of wood and stone. I caught the echoes of wood supreme, and measured the rhythm beats of infinity, and listened through music for the eternal voice. I felt covert touch, I heard a call, but could not clasp the body of my God, or hold between my hands the world mother's feet. In men, I met strange portions of self that sought for fragments and in fragments lived. Each lived in himself and for himself alone, and with the rest joined only fleeting ties. Each passion over his surface joy and grief, nor saw the eternal in his secret house. I converse with nature, mused with changeless stars, God's watchfires burning in the ignorant night, and saw upon her mighty visage fall, a ray prophetic of the eternal sun.
Thank you. He continues describing a little bit these images from the nature around, these beautiful images that impress themselves upon his soul. And then he says that I carved my vision out of wood and stone. I caught the echoes of a word supreme. So it suggests to me that also he gave form to these things. He carved images in stone and wood and composed meters, perhaps poems, metered the rhythm beats of infinity and listened through music for the eternal voice. So he felt through these things a covert touch, kind of a hidden touch from the divinity behind. He heard a call, but could not clasp the body of my God. He has intimations of this divinity behind nature and things, but he couldn't really grasp it completely. He couldn't clasp it in his hands or hold between my hands the world mother's feet. And then he refers to men, other people. I met strange portions of a self. He senses that they are part of his own self, that there is a oneness there, but that he was seeking, that sought for fragments, and in fragments lived. I think he's speaking of these other people, that they're living these kind of divided lives, a fragmented life, cut off from one another, separate from one another, each living for themselves alone, their own interests, not really embracing each other fully as different representations of the same being, of the same self. Each lived in himself and for himself alone, and with the rest joined only fleeting ties. Each passioned over his surface joy and grief, nor saw the eternal in his secret house. And then again he returns back to nature. I conversed with nature, mused with the changeless stars, God's watchfires burning in the ignorant night. It's as if the stars above are God's watchfires, and saw upon her mighty visage fall a ray prophetic of the eternal sun. It seems as if he can commune more closely with the divinity in nature than in other people. Continue.
I sat with the forest sages in their trance. They poured awakening streams of diamond light. I glimpsed the presence of the One in all, but still there lacked this last transcendent power, and matter still slept empty of its Lord. The spirit was saved, the body lost and mute, lived still with death and ancient ignorance. The innocent was its base, the void its fate. But thou hast come, and all will surely change. I shall feel the world mother in thy golden limbs, and hear her wisdom in thy sacred voice. The child of the void shall be reborn in God. My mother shall evade the innocence trance. My body, like my spirit, shall be free. It shall escape from death and ignorance. And Savitri, musing still, replied to him, Speak more to me, speak more, O Satyavan, speak of thyself and all thou art within. I would know thee as if we had ever lived together in the chambers of our souls. Speak till a light shall come into my heart, and my moved mortal mind shall understand that all the deathless being in me feels.
Thank you. Here we get something very significant about Sri Aurobindo's teachings and how it differs from the ancient spiritual teachings of India. So he's saying, Satyavan says, that he sat with the forest sages in their trance, in their inner realizations, in deep meditation, and from them there poured awakening streams of diamond light. And he was able to glimpse the presence of the One in all. So he had some glimpses of the spiritual realization or experience, but still there lacked the last transcendent power, and matter still slept empty of its Lord. So even in this spiritual realization that he was having glimpses of, it wasn't complete. There was something missing. There lacked the last transcendence power. Didn't have the power to transform life, to transform matter. Matter still slept empty of its Lord. The spirit was saved, the body lost and mute. The body was just left in its trance, sitting there in the forest, quiet, silent, not active. The spirit had its spiritual realization, saw the One behind all things, but the body lives still with death and ancient ignorance. The inconscient was its base, the void its fate. Still the body was untransformed. Still the body lived with death. Still the inconscient, this absolute lack of consciousness of the physical matter, was the base of this physical form, the body. Still death was its fate. But thou hast come, and all will surely change. I shall feel the world mother in thy golden limbs, and hear her wisdom in thy sacred voice. So with the coming of the Divine Mother, she brings that transcendent force that can transform life, can transform matter, not just to leave it behind on the earth forest floor while we go up into the spiritual realms of consciousness. The child of the void shall be reborn in God. My matter shall evade the inconscience trance. My body, like my spirit, shall be free. It shall escape from death and ignorance. So here he's even foreseeing his fate, that Savitri will save him from death. And Savitri, musing still, replied to him, "Speak more to me, speak more. I would know thee as if we had ever lived together in the chamber of our souls." She senses that they have known each other for ages in their souls. "Speak till a light shall come into my heart, and my moved mortal mind shall understand what all the deathless being in me feels." She senses that oneness with him, but she still does not fully understand in her mind. So she asks, "You tell me more. Speak more to me. So we'll continue. One last one.
It knows that thou art he my spirit has sought. Amidst earth's thronging visages and forms, across the golden spaces of my life, and Satyavan, like a replying harp to the insistent calling of a flute, answered her questioning and let stream to her his heart in many-colored waves of speech. O golden princess, perfect Savitri, more I would tell than failing words can speak, of all that thou hast meant to me, unknown, all that the lighting flash of love reveals in one great hour of the unveiling gods. Even a brief nearness has shaped my life, for now I know that all I lived and was moved towards this moment of my heart's rebirth. I look back on the meaning of myself, a soul made ready on earth's soil for thee. Once were my days like days of other men. To think and act was all, to enjoy and breathe. This was the width and height of mortal hope. Yet there came glimpses of a deeper self that lives behind life and makes her act its scene.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And just as Savitri senses that she has known Satyavan for ages, that they have been together in the chamber of their souls, he also senses his long knowing of Savitri. He says, more I would tell than failing words can speak, of all that thou hast meant to me, unknown, all that the lightning flash of love reveals in one great hour of the unveiling gods. Even a brief nearness has reshaped my life, for now I know that all I lived and was moved towards this moment of my heart's rebirth. I look back on the meaning of myself, a soul made ready on earth's soil for thee. So he senses that his whole life was moving towards this moment in which he recognizes this supreme goddess that Savitri is. And we can think perhaps of our own experience, he representing the soul of humanity and of the earth. So for us too, our lives in a sense are a preparation for this meeting with the divine force, with the divine being who will remake us, reshape us in a new image, a new form. So we stop there for today.
Satyavan, speak of thyself and all thou art within. Speak till a light shall come into my heart, and my moved mortal mind shall understand what all the deathless being in me feels. It knows that thou art he my spirit has sought amidst earth's thronging visages and forms, across the golden spaces of my life.
Thanks to Shri Aurobindo.